what a amazing weekend it has been. We had Kevin on last night, absolutely on fire, talking about the Pope. I've just learned that Professor Hamamoto has been reading Kevin's works and watching his interviews over the years. And Professor has his own theories and formulations about the Pope that we're going to be getting to. We'll also be talking about some of the huge stories in the news, the Harvey Weinstein trial, Diddy trial, and we will get the professor's thoughts on the death of Virginia as well. So much to talk about. We've got an hour before Chris Todd comes in on the McCann case and Christian Bruckner. Already 100 waiting. This is phenomenal. So if you do have any questions for the professor, put them in the chat. And don't forget to go to the professor's links in the description box and subscribe to his channel. Now, everybody, every live stream we've done since we started covering Virginia, people are getting zapped off it. I've got it on my phone. I'm watching. I'm getting zapped off my phone. I got zapped off 6 times the other day. If you get zapped off this live stream, folks, either refresh your screen or just go to anything that's got my channel icon on it on YouTube. Click the channel icon, and it will bring you back. It's absolute claptrap that they're messing around with us like this, but it's just something that we got to put up with. So thank you for coming back, my friend. Always a great pleasure to see you.
Mr. Attwood, it is my distinct pleasure to be with you here today and your above average audience, international audience.
Yeah, I mean, some of the questions they were asking Kevin were over my head. And some of these people are steeped in biblical and Vatican research. And you said that you've been doing your own research and formulating ideas. What have you come up with?
Yeah. Well, I've been following Kevin Annette's work for years, especially that which involves specifically the indigenous children of Canada, or the nation that he calls Kanata. And as it turns out, it involves a certain family that will go unnamed who have paid visits to one of their Commonwealth countries in order to abscond with the children resources there. And in connection with that, because it relates, I've been dealing with the priest abuse scandals of the Catholic Church in the U.S., including those that Cardinal or Bishop Vigano investigated himself. He came to the U.S. He was sent here specifically.
Can I drop a name in using your vernacular?
Yes.
Kohlberg Saxa.
Kohlberg Saxa-Gotha. Yes, we'll use that code word. But your audience, Saxa. It's the Teutonic. The Teutonic Knights are very strong. But your audience knows who we're referring to, and most of your audience knows that Father Vigano has been excommunicated, and he's on the outside now. But you know what? He's writing about his excommunication process. So I'm looking at it as all of a piece. Some people might be wondering, okay, what does it have to do with America? I'm not Roman Catholic. I'm not even a believer. I'm in the New Age. I'm into Space Brothers or something like that. But the problem is that what this contingent is ignoring is that the Roman Catholic Church has played an integral role in shaping world history for the past several centuries, including in the Asian world, which is what Leo Zagami, my friend and colleague, will be talking about tomorrow on my show when he discusses his brand new book about the Society of Jesus, especially as it pertains to Japan and China. Right, we're talking about the 16th century. So, ladies and gentlemen, on a large, longitudinal, historical, civilizational stage, the Church of Rome has played an integral role, and it would be foolish of us to ignore it. So that's my operating assumption here.
Well, one of the things that Kevin said last night that flabbergasted me, when we looked at the percent of the religions in China, is that the Catholic and Protestants now are a third of the Buddhists and growing. And even though it's only what it was, 6-7%, it's still on such a huge population. It is absolutely massive. I just got kicked off the stream on my phone, so I imagine many other people have. So
Okay.
if you follow the instructions on the screen, you'll see my little icon. It says I'm live there. I just got kicked over to the T-Bone podcast. So you click back on the live, and it takes you back to the good professor and myself. That's how you get back, folks. But yeah, thanks for messing with the professor's stream, YouTube. We appreciate that. But yeah, what I was saying about the percentage, the growth of the Catholics in China was what I was talking about. I was surprised, and Kevin pointed out right now that it's this collaboration between the church and the Chinese. They're both trying to co-opt each other. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, the Chinese, if I can speak of them as a unified people, which they are not, they've had a really good success in assimilating outside hostile forces, right? They typically, the outside forces become sinicized or sinicized, Chineseified rather than the other way around. And that includes the Jews of the far western parts of China, the Muslims, known as Uyghurs generically, different Christian denominations. So they've had a very good track record of that. That being said, the churches of the West, Protestant denominations and the Roman Catholic Church, have never ceased in their efforts of proselytization, because it's a huge part of the world population with enormous resources that they would like to capture on the behalf of the earthly powers that they serve at bottom. Right. We know that they have earthly powers that are very, very strong and deeply rooted. Now, that being said, the Protestant denominations, I would argue, were instrumental in precipitating the Boxer Rebellion, and leading up and even including the Chinese Revolution of the mid late 40s and post-war period. Right. So the central government, the Communist Party of China, is really wary because they are students of history, millennially long history. They are very wary about any type of outside religious influences. And as Kevin Annett mentioned, and I read this in his other work, the government of China, central government, has control over who gets the top seats within their version of the Catholic Church over there. They get to pick their cardinals. So you have a fusion of church and state, which has always been very, very dangerous. That's one of the reasons why the United States of America, the Republic, one of the founding pillars was the separation of church and state, because historically, these brilliant men who crafted these rules understood let's put it lightly, the hijinks that these churches engage in when they merge with secular power.
What about the protection of these priests that violate children by the church and the scandals, including the present Pope? It just seems to me that they've got this attitude whereby these kids don't care. We're going to protect the violators at all costs, bring these high-priced fancy lawyers in, paid for by people's donations, some of it, no doubt. And that's never going to end. I mean, even the Leo that we've got now has been known to enable this behavior and protect these violators. I mean, don't you think that the church should completely clean house?
Well, again, I'll return to your guest of the previous three shows, Kevin Annett, and I listened very carefully to the sort of the side comments he's making, which aren't really, they're actually central to his larger framework. But on his behalf, I hope I'm not misstating it, I will say that he makes a very important observation about how the Roman Catholic Church doesn't consider what that activity, which I'll just leave vague, they don't consider it a crime, they consider it a sin. So what is a sin is in their book is not a crime. So it's not punishable, and sins can be forgiven. You can gain absolution for it. And as we know historically, you can even buy your way out of sin. Perhaps that's going to be the fate of one Shaun John Combs, who, by the way, is also being represented indirectly by the Jesuits in the form of Tina Garagos and her father, Mark Garagos, who I hope we can talk about in a moment. They
Okay,
were
we'll get to
both
that. But
trained at Loyola Law School, by the way.
we'll get to that. But just
Loyola
one
Law
more,
School. Yeah, go ahead.
just one more point. Then,
Yes.
you know, the priests are absolving themselves. They're washing away the sin.
Yes.
But the kid they've done that to, they can't wash that away. They're traumatized for life, and that's something that the church, if it continues to enable that behavior and have this attitude that you've just described, isn't it surely going to be their downfall?
I can't predict downfall or what. I can predict, however, what the church will do in order to mitigate public outrage on the behalf of these victimized children and adults, young adults typically, but not tiny, tiny children. They're going to bring in, because, you know, the Roman Catholic Church are very, very steeped into hard sciences, from celestial observation to bioscience, right? They are, meaning the Roman Catholic Church, are going to bring in this new literature on neuroscience, and they're going to say, well, out of our beneficent and our way of doing penance on behalf of these children, we're going to enroll them into these mass neuroscience-based treatment programs to eliminate any signs of trauma. And there's literature, growing literature coming out of the academy, which is my world, which is heavily funded, that is being positioned. Now we're looking ahead of time here. That's why what I'm telling you here is probably not going to make a lot of sense at this point, but it will. But the church is positioning itself to come out as a savior of the children through so-called neuroscience, which, as you can tell by my quotation, my finger quotation marks, is a bogus pseudoscience. But that's where all the money's going. That's why Obama called this the decade of the brain science. And this is what J.E., the person who disappeared off the face of the earth, and we know who he is. That's why he was so interested in that line of research at the Santa Fe Institute and other institutions, research institutions. Neuroscience. Beware, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, good point, Anna. They disassociate the victims and don't heal them. That is so true.
Right, and you're going to feed them with pharmaceuticals too. Or chips, maybe it could be Neuralink technologies.
Which the Vatican has huge investments in. So it just makes money from every angle.
Make it going up, make the money going up, make the money going down. It's the SOJ modus operandus. If they like to use Latin, so I'll drop some Latin phrases in there myself.
Looks like Professor Hamamoto's hovering around 55,000 subscribers, folks. And I'm going to put his link to his channel in the live chat. Let's see what he's talking about. True crime as pop literary exploration of state criminality, dark tourism industry, fear of a fourth right, anxiety and envy. So if you want to watch all that good stuff, here's the link in the live chat. Please subscribe. Let's get him up to 100,000 this year. That would be nice. Then he'll get a plaque from YouTube if he's on the good boy list, which I'm not.
Thank you. I'll be glad to accept the award on your behalf.
Yeah, I've never had one. So you were segueing over. You were segueing away from sax over to Diddy. What do you make of the jury selection and shenanigans so far?
Well, remember we were talking about the last time about jury selection? I think the larger media has picked up on how crucial it is to the outcome of this trial. It's all about the jury selection. Now, Mark Garagos has a podcast with another personality, media personality by the name of Harvey Levin. It's called Two Angry Jurors, I believe, based on this Broadway play and movie about 12 Angry Men. All the jury selection people, I'm talking about the defense team, has to do is come up with not two angry men, but two passive-aggressive, middle-aged Black women to completely gum up the works of the prosecution, which, by the way, is a part